I'm William Michael of the Classical Liberal Arts Academy, and in this video I'd like to continue walking through Aristotle's Nicomachean ethics with students in the Academy. And before I get started with this lesson, I'd just like to make sure that anyone watching this who may enjoy these videos and be interested in these studies knows that these courses that I teach are all available for free in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. Everything from the first lessons in English reading, classical grammar, Latin reading, all the way up through classical reasoning, classical philosophy, and scholastic theology. These courses are available for free. If you'd like to make use of these courses, either as an adult student in your own leisure time or as a homeschooling family, you're welcome to do so. Visit classicalliberalarts.com and you can get all the information. I'd just like to make sure that that's clear up front. In this lesson, as I said, we're studying Chapter 3 of Book 3 of Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. And in recent chapters, in the last two lessons, we looked at what it means for an action to be voluntary or involuntary, and how that relates to things like praise and blame. If we praise someone for their behavior and their behavior is involuntary, that doesn't necessarily make much sense. And yet at the same time, if we blame someone and condemn someone for their behavior, and it's involuntary, it deserves the same consideration. The same is true of voluntary actions. And so we saw how that plays into our consideration of ethics, and Aristotle explained that the voluntary and involuntary is an important consideration for legislators when considering not only how laws should be made, but also when they consider the sentences and punishments for those who break those laws, or the rewards for those who observe those laws. We have to take into consideration the influence of voluntary and involuntary actions. So, in the second chapter of Book 3, Aristotle talked about deliberate choice and what it means for a choice to be deliberate. He explained that was one kind of voluntary action, and there are other voluntary actions that are not deliberate choice, that do not come from deliberate choice. Little children and animals who do not possess reason can act voluntarily, but not with deliberate choice. And we often act suddenly and spontaneously, impulsively, and those actions are voluntary, and yet they are not from deliberate choice. So he explained what deliberate choice was. And that brings us to Chapter 3 of Book 3. So let's begin the reading of Chapter 3, Book 3, and I'll try to limit comments to what is helpful, because this is intended to provide students with help making their first reading of Chapter 3 in Book 3. You can hear I'm being assaulted by crows in the background. Hopefully they'll quiet down soon. Chapter 3 of Book 3 of Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. But whether do men consult about all things, and is everything a subject of consultation? Or about certain things is there no consultation? Perhaps, however, that must be called a subject of consultation, not about which some stupid or insane person consults, but which is an object of consultation to a man endued with intellect. Concerning eternal things, however, no one consults, such as concerning the world, or the diagonal and side of a square, because they are incommensurable. Nor does anyone consult about things which are in motion, but which are always passing into existence after the same manner, whether from necessity or naturally, or from some other cause, such as conversions, and risings. Nor does anyone consult about things which subsist differently at different times, such as about drought and rain, nor about fortuitous events, such as the discovery of a treasure, nor yet about all human concerns, for no Lacedaemonian, that's a person from the land where Sparta was located, no Lacedaemonian consults how the polity of the Scythians may be governed in the best manner, since none of these things can be effected by us. But we consult about things which can be performed by us. We consult about things which can be performed by us. And these are the rest of things which we have not mentioned. So Aristotle goes through a list of things that are not appropriate for consultation. And some of them may be unfamiliar to you. It's not a big deal. You'll learn about them more in philosophy studies and other of your classical Catholic studies. But what they all have in common, what actually is important, is that they're things that are beyond our control. Things that we cannot possibly understand, like eternity, he mentions. Things that we cannot control, like events taking place in some other land. All of those things have this in common, that they're beyond our control. We have no ability to effect them. And therefore the summary of this lesson is, we consult about things which can be performed by us. And he said we don't consult about things that an insane person or unreasonable person consults about, because look at social media. What you find are armies of irrational, if not insane, people consulting about things that they have no direct knowledge of and no control over. And that's irrational or insane behavior. We consult about things which can be performed by us, because we're men who are seeking to be good and wise. We're not seeking to do what others do or engage in whatever conversation anyone else brings up or wrestle with the issues that others are wrestled with. We seek to pursue happiness by living according to virtue, to be good men, as Aristotle explained earlier in the book. And good men consult about things which can be performed by us, by them. For nature, necessity, and fortune appear to be causes. Nature, necessity, and fortune appear to be causes. And besides these, intellect and everything which energizes through man. The individuals, however, of the human species consult about things which may be performed by them. And indeed, in those sciences which are accurate and sufficient to themselves, there is no consultation. As for instance, there is no consultation about letters, for there is no contention how we should write. And that reveals another characteristic about topics which are proper for consultation. They are topics about which there is contention, or where there are a number of different options possible, and we're consulting to determine which is the best. No one consults regarding letters, for there is no contention how we should write. But such things as are effected by us, yet not always after the same manner, about these we consult, as about things pertaining to medicine and the art of procuring money, and about the art of the pilot more than about the gymnastic art, because the former is much less accurate than the latter. In a similar manner also we consult about the rest, But we consult more in the arts than in the sciences. For we dissent or disagree about arts, about how things are to be done, than about the sciences. Consultation, however, takes place in things which have a frequency of subsistence. In other words, we consult about things which may vary by circumstances. They may subsist or exist or be found to exist in different ways in different circumstances, and therefore the universal issue itself may not be contentious or disagreed about, but because circumstances change, that leads different things to need to be considered differently. A good example of this in the church would be the liturgy. The liturgy is not absolute in the sense that it doesn't exist by itself in a vacuum. It relates to human conditions and circumstances. And therefore, as human conditions and circumstances change, the church has the authority to consult about the liturgy and about questions about the celebration of the sacraments, and the church can make changes, and that's a subject of consultation for those who have the power to effect the desired result. And that's one reason why it's not appropriate for laymen to be debating about these issues amongst themselves, because it's equivalent to the Lacedaemonians consulting about how the state should be run in Scythia. It's none of their business. Consultation takes place in things which have a frequency of subsistence, which can exist in different forms or in different senses or in different ways, but of which the event is immanifest or uncertain, unclear, and in things in which there is the indefinite, the uncertain. In things which are of great importance, we employ counselors, distrusting our own judgment as not sufficient. We consult not about ends, not about the goals of things. That's not usually debatable, or that's not usually what confuses us. We consult about the things pertaining to the ends, that is, the means by which the ends might be obtained. For neither does a physician consult about whether he shall heal the sick. A rhetorician does not consult whether he shall persuade. A politician does not consult whether he shall establish equitable or just legislation. Nor does any one of the remaining characters consult about the ends, for the ends are known. But proposing a certain end, they consider how and by what means it may be obtained. So they do not consult, or we do not consult about what is to be sought. We consult about how it is to be sought. And this relates to business, because in business there's a principle in business that says that you should offer to your customers for free the what. What should be free, but the how should be paid. And that's a rule for determining how to charge for business services. The what should be free, because that's the end, and we really don't need help with the what. But the how is where expertise and consultation are needed. And that's the kind of work that deserves payment, that work of expert consultation, without which the ends cannot be obtained. If also it appears that this end is to be attained through many media, they consider through which of them it may be obtained in the easiest and best manner. So if there are many different ways to do something, we consult to consider what the most efficient way might be. But if through one medium, if there's only one way through which something may be effected, they consider how it may be accomplished through this one medium, and through what likewise this may be obtained, until they arrive at the first cause which is discovered in the last place. For he who consults appears to investigate and analyze in the above-mentioned manner, as if he were investigating and analyzing a diagram. And it's important to note that the action of consultation here is described as investigation and analysis. Investigation and analysis. It appears as if he were investigating and analyzing a diagram. It appears, however, that not every investigation is a consultation, for mathematical enquiries are not consultations. But every consultation is an investigation. And so what he's saying there is consultation is one kind or species of investigation. And that which is last in analysis is first in generation. In other words, when we analyze something or divide a whole into parts through this investigation, what is last in analysis, that is what we obtain at the end of our analysis, is the first thing that belongs to the generation or the synthesis, the putting back together of the whole. And if indeed in consulting we meet with an impossibility, we desist from consultation. If something is impossible, it's not to be discussed. As if there should be occasion for money, and the money cannot be procured. But if that about which we consult appears to be possible, then we endeavor to obtain it. Those things, however, are possible which may be accomplished through ourselves. For things which are accomplished through our friends are in a certain respect effected through ourselves, that is, by our own means and resources, since the principle is in us. But at one time instruments are explored, and at another time the use of them, and in a similar manner in other things. At one time indeed that being investigated through which the end may be obtained, and at another time the manner in which it may be obtained. Man, therefore, as we have said, appears to be the principle of actions. But consultation is about things which may be performed by man. Consultation is about things which may be performed by man, and actions are for the sake of other things. Hence, the end will not be the object of consultation, but things which pertain to ends, that is, the means. Neither, therefore, will particulars be the objects of consultation, as whether this thing is bread, or is well baked, or is made as it ought to be. For these things pertain to sense. They're not contentious, they're not debatable. But if a man always consults, there will be a procession to infinity. His consulting will never end. The object of consultation, however, and the pre-eligible or object of deliberate choice are the same, except that the object of pre-election or deliberate choice is something which is now definite. For the pre-eligible is that which is preferred from consultation. And that's set in italics in the text, so we should give a little extra attention to it. The pre-eligible is that which is deferred from consultation. Pre-eligible means that which is deliberated on and chosen or desirable before the action is actually carried out. Pre-eligible. For everyone ceases to investigate how he shall act when he has reduced the principle to himself, and to that part of himself which ranks as the leader, since this part is that which he deliberately chooses. But this is also evident from the ancient polities, or states, which Homer has imitated. For the kings of these polities announced to the people what they had deliberately chosen to do. Since, however, that which is pre-eligible is an object of consultation, appetible things which are in our power, appetible of things which are in our power, pre-election also, or deliberate choice, will be an appetite of, or tendency to, things in our power, accompanied with consultation. And again, that's set in italics, so let's give it extra attention. That which is pre-eligible is an object of consultation, appetible of things which are in our power. Pre-election, or deliberate choice, will be an appetite of, or tendency to, things in our power, accompanied with consultation. For forming a judgment in consequence of having consulted, we desire conformably to consultation. We have therefore adumbrated what pre-election is, and what the things are with which it is conversant, and have shown that it belongs to things which have reference to ends. And that's the end of chapter 3 of book 3. I've got a few minutes here, so let's discuss this reading a little bit. The question of chapter 3 in book 3 is, what is the appropriate subject of consultation? And Aristotle makes this very clear for us, explaining that the proper object of consultation is something that is within our power, that is a means to an end that we desire, that's within our power, for which the principle resides in us. That is, we have the power to accomplish this action or bring about this end. When we realize that something is beyond our power, we may consider whether we can call in assistance from others to help us. And Aristotle explains that in a way that is still within our power, because our friends are something of an extension of our own ability, and we can call upon friends or other sources of help, resources, and that comes into consultation. For example, in modern society, we have the option of borrowing money to do something. And therefore, even if we don't have the money to do it, or our friends don't have the money to do it, there are still other means which are available to us, and we can consult about those things as well. But consultation is about things which are questionable and uncertain, things that change by different circumstances, and these are the kinds of things that we normally deal with in everyday life when we have important decisions to make. It's not that we don't understand the end. There's no one who says that I don't want to be happy, or I don't want to be healthy, or I don't want to be wealthy. We don't say things like that. We don't say I want to be unjust, or I want this evil end. Normally, we already agree on the end, but we disagree on the means. And a perfect example of this is the controversy today about vaccination and disease treatment and things like that, how to handle an outbreak of a sickness in a society. We don't disagree that the desire to overcome a disease is good. We don't disagree on the outcome or the goal that health is to be desired, but the contention relates to the means by which that health is to be procured. And what it means to be ethical is to pursue good ends by good means. And that's why the saying, the end does not justify the means, what that means is that just because the end is known to be good, it doesn't mean that you can go after it in any way that you choose. A good end can only be pursued by good means. For example, peace can only be pursued by diplomatic or friendly negotiations, or in the worst case, through a just war. But we cannot use just, our own desire to destroy our enemies as an excuse to just go and beat everybody up and confine everyone to slavery. The end of peace does not justify the means. The means themselves are subject to consultation and discussion and debate, and that's what leads us to discern the best means by which the ends might be pursued. And Aristotle explains all that clearly in this reading. At the end there, he provides us with a couple of important conclusions of this chapter. He says, talking about the pre-eligible, and that may be a little confusing, the pre-eligible is that which is the result of deliberate choice. A deliberate choice is that which is pre-eligible. He uses them interchangeably as synonyms. So don't let the word pre-eligible confuse you. If you understand what deliberate choice is, then you understand what it means to be pre-eligible. Okay, that which is chosen, that which is desirable, as the action which a man chooses to pursue, is that which is pre-eligible. He says the pre-eligible is that which is preferred from consultation. That which after consulting we choose is that which is pre-eligible. And then later he says, since that which is pre-eligible is an object of consultation, appetible or desirable of things which are in our power, pre-election also, or deliberate choice, will be an appetite of or tendency to things in our power, accompanied with consultation. So deliberate choice will be, and here we have something of a definition of deliberate choice. Deliberate choice will be an appetite of or tendency to things in our power, accompanied with consultation. So the purpose of chapter 3 is to bring us to this positive statement of what deliberate choice is. Remember, in chapter 2, we talked about what deliberate choice is not. We compared it with a couple of different things, with opinion, with will, with anger or desire. And we said deliberate choice is not those things, but we didn't say what deliberate choice is positively. Here in chapter 3, in that sentence set in italics near the end of the chapter, we find something of a definition of deliberate choice. Deliberate choice is that which will be an appetite of or tendency to things in our power, accompanied with consultation. Okay, so I hope that's a helpful walk through chapter 3. It's intended to be a help for you as you make your first reading. You should be prepared to study this chapter for mastery, as I explain in the article How to Study for Mastery. So it's time now for you to read this chapter for yourself, take notes, study it carefully, complete the lesson assessments, and we'll continue in our study of Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. I hope that's helpful. God bless your studies.